Hello BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and this is telling you about the books that I have been reading for Contemporaryathon. I had a bit of a late start to Contemporaryathon because I started another book. It doesn't really fit into the Contemporaryathon reading. It was on my TBR for the month, and it is a contemporary, so I am going to talk about it here. I wasn't sure if I was, but I am going to talk about it here. And that is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. Now, I have read Ruta's two other books, two most popular other books, and I didn't like them. I didn't enjoy Salt to the Sea, and oh, what was the other one? For the life of me, I can't remember what the other one was. But I remember not enjoying them and being really disappointed because everyone loves her books, and so I was, you know, it was with trepidation that I picked this up, but it just so happened it was at the library, and I thought, well, why not give it a go? It's a library copy, it's not costing me anything, and I'll see how I get on. And really the reason I did that was because of the setting. It's not set in the World War, which is something that I wanted to avoid. This is actually set in Madrid in 1957. And it's under the dictatorship of General Franco, and we're following two people. We're following a young man called Daniel who's come over with his parents. His dad's an oil sort of magnate, and they've come over to do some business over there, and they're staying in this hotel. It's sort of the first time that tourists have been allowed to come into Spain, and so it's quite a big deal, and it's quite opulent, and the hotel they stay in, there's lots of people looking after them. And then you get this juxtaposition because you have the maid who is looking after him specifically. You have sort of a maid assigned to you. Anna is a beautiful young Spanish girl, but she has suffered dreadfully under Franco and things that happened during the war, and her family have this sort of shame hanging over them, and there's secrets going on in Anna's life. In Daniel's life, it's not all plain sailing. He doesn't want to go into the oil business like his dad. He wants to be a photographer, and so we're following that element. We're following Anna and her life and her backstory, and how they sort of you know, meet, and how those two worlds collide, and the sort of fallout from that. And underlying it, there is this bigger picture, this bigger story about some deceptions, and a particular deception that was happening in Spain at the time, which is only not that long ago, I think, come to light. I'm not going to say anything about it because it would spoil it for you, but I was just reading at the end of the book, there was a note from the author. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, and I think it wasn't until sort of 2008 that some of these sort of atrocities that had been happening came to light. And I really enjoyed the first half of this, and I love the characters and the setting of it, and I really enjoyed that part of it. I was slightly disappointed with the ending. Now, that's not to say that it wasn't a good ending. I think it was probably quite good. It was quite sort of realistic, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. But I just didn't feel that romance. I didn't feel that romantic element that was trying to come through. And I can't tell you, but the length of time that they wait and things, I just didn't feel the love was there that strong. So that element of it let it down for me a little bit, but I did really enjoy it, and I ended up giving it a strong 4 stars. So I read that one. Perhaps it could fit in somewhere in the Contemporaryathon, I don't know. And then I picked up my actual first book for the Contemporaryathon, which I think was the one, I think there might have been prompt about green on the cover. And that is The Other Side of Lost by Jessie Kirby. This has been out for quite a while. It's the story of a young girl. She is approaching 18, and it's actually on her 18th birthday, and she's quite big in social media. Her Instagram posts are followed by you know, 500,000 odd people, and she has grown very distant from her cousin. They were sort of bestest friends. They were born on the same day. They celebrated, and at the start of the book you see them celebrating their 13th birthday together and talking about all the adventures they're going to have. And then we skip forward, and their lives have gone in different ways, and the cousin Brie has died, and quite a tragic death, going out doing something adventurous, and our main character hasn't really come to terms with that. Her name's Mary, and she hasn't really come to terms with that, but she's also sort of blocking it out because they didn't know each other that well. something happens. She gets fed up with her life, she's lonely, it's her birthday, and she makes an Instagram video post and sort of divulges how everything's fake and she's putting on this front and nothing is as it seems, and that people shouldn't believe everything, and that she's going to take a social media break, and she turns off all of her social media. And there's a bit of a fallout from that, and then all of a sudden this parcel turns up on her door. Don't worry, this is all in like the first chapter, and it is full of hiking equipment that has been sent by her aunt, saying that she thinks that her cousin would have wanted her to have it, and it has in it everything for this big trip that her cousin Brie was going to take on this specific really hardcore hiking trek that they'd always talked about doing together, and that Brie, her cousin, was actually going to go and do and had been planning for. And on a sort of a bit of a whim, she ends up going and starting this hike, and then this is about sort of the people she meets on the way and what she learns about herself. And from the start of this book, I was loving it. I don't know anything about hiking. I was loving the descriptions of hiking. I was loving this sort of journal element that was going on. I was loving the things that she was having to face and how she was having to face things and really think about things because she was on her own. I enjoyed these sort of way stations that she came across where her cousin had posted herself these boxes of like resources and things, and I didn't know anything about that because I'm not a hiker. And I really loved all of that. And then I've just been making notes. It lost the plot a little bit for me because the pacing just changed and it's sped up. The last bit of the book was just so fast, it really sped up, and I just felt it ended quite lackluster. I mean, it was meant to be this sort of big vast feeling of achievement, and I just felt it was quite lackluster, and the romantic element I wasn't sure was really needed, or if it was, it needed to have been a little bit more developed. And I think this could have been a really powerful sort of journey story, this sort of wild type story, and it sort of let itself down a little bit, especially by the pacing at the end, because up until that it was well on its way to being sort of 4 or 5 star. Well, high 4 star, 5 star, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. I did enjoy it, and I did read it really fast and sort of really enjoy the hiking element. So it was a good one. I definitely recommend it, but just be aware there's sort of there is quite a fast pace ending which sort of ends, and I felt like there could have been a little bit more on the end of that. Okay, so even though Contemporaryathon has finished and I did not get through many books, I'm going to continue with my Contemporaryathon until the end of the month, because the books that I picked I really am quite keen to read. So I finished You Against Me by Jenny Downham, and for some reason it hadn't clicked to me that I had another of her books on my list for February in a general sense, which is Furious Thing, which I'm currently reading. But this one is about a young girl who has accused a boy of raping her. She's 15, I believe, or 16, and she's accused a boy of raping her. The boy's sister was in the house at the time of this sort of alleged rape, and she is sort of staunchly for her brother. She is defending him. She's one of the witnesses. And then the brother of the victim, or alleged victim, is trying to hold the family together, really. The mother is an alcoholic, they're struggling financially, the youngest sister often doesn't get to school on time, they have trouble picking her up, she isn't clean, she's not got a very stable home life, and really it was down to the main boy, I think his name's Mikey, and his sister were sort of keeping everything together and providing food, doing the shopping. Mikey is also working in a restaurant. He's desperate to be a chef at the moment. He's sort of a pot washer, come cleaner, come waiter, but he's learning from the guy that works in the kitchen, and he really wants to go into catering and cooking. And then an encounter between the two siblings happens, and whereas once it begins as a way of finding out information, things are escalate. There is a sort of romantic element to this, and it's about navigating that and learning what's right and wrong, and how to sort of go about standing up for yourself against people like your family, and I just thought it was brilliant. I really thought it was really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, and I gave it a really strong 4 stars. And I liked that it was set in the UK, because that gives it an element of sort of understanding for me in terms of the legal system, and in terms of the sort of schooling and that sort of thing, and college. So I enjoyed that aspect, and yeah, I just thought it was really good, and I definitely recommend it. I'm so pleased I finally picked this one up. I've had it on my shelf for years. So yes, that was a good one. I'll come back to you when I have read my next one, which may be Jenny Downham's Furious Thing. So so far I'm sort of 50 pages into that and really enjoying it too. So hopefully it will be just as good as this one, or maybe even a 5-star, who knows. But I'll come back and let you know my thoughts once I have finished reading it. Okay, so I've finished Furious Thing by Jenny Downham. This comes after just reading another Jenny Downham, You Against Me, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and this one was no different. I definitely think her writing is for me. This is following our main character Lexi, and she lives with her mum and her half-sister and her mother's boyfriend, and they've been together for years now, and she also had her stepbrother living with them until he went to university. And from the offset we know that Lexi is angry. She has problems controlling her anger, and it manifests into these outbursts, which are often involve throwing things, and she's very confrontational and very aggressive against people. And you know that she doesn't get on with her mother's boyfriend, and you can slowly start to see these trickling things happening, this emotional abuse that is happening in the household. And I just thought this was brilliantly done. I felt so angry at times for Lexi, and I really felt for the situation that she was in and this sort of desperation. And I just thought she was such a brave and actually very strong young woman. She didn't let any of this get to her. I was, you know, all the way through her, I was thinking, oh gosh, she's going to do something to herself, something's going to happen, what's going to happen, how's this going to play out? And I just thought it was really well done. I thought the ending was very interesting. It wasn't your saccharine sweet, everything's okay and hunky-dory. It was more of a survival story and a growth story and a right where's next sort of story, and I just thought it was brilliant. It shows not only Lexi, but this sort of relationship she has with her older stepbrother, and this relationship that is been reliant on them keeping each other sane to some extent, with what, you know, they go through with his father and her stepfather, and how that has led to confused and conflicting emotions, and the sort of offset of that. And yeah, I just, there was only one bit, and that is this sort of main climax that I really wasn't so keen on. I felt like there should have been action earlier by grown-ups and other people in Lexi's life, and I just felt like there was quite a lot of ignorance in terms of checking out that she was okay and her situation, especially from people like the school and the doctor that she's taken to see at one point, when her stepfather, her mother's boyfriend, endeavours to get her medicated for ADHD, which it's quite clear that she doesn't have. Yeah, I love Jenny Downham's writing. I'm definitely going to read more by her. I thought this was really, really good. It was really close to a 5 stars, but something just didn't quite tip it over the edge, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. I ended up DNFing this one. Now, normally a DNF for me is that I really just not clicking, I'm not enjoying the book at all. And although that is right to some degree, I think this would be an amazing book for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are going to love this. The reason that I struggled with it is I've literally just done a module at school with my children on Macbeth, and this is sort of a Lady Macbeth retelling. So the plot was very, very fresh in my mind, and the similarities I could see going through just meant that the plot didn't seem that fresh for me, so there was no sort of surprises really to the plot. The other thing that I struggled with is the first person. You know, I do this, I do that. It didn't work for me, and I struggled to get into it. And also I just felt that I really like how dark this goes, but I just felt that the boy characters in it were very one-dimensional, and a lot of it laid a bit flat for me. It was very sort of, and these are the stereotypical bimbos, and these are the stereotypical mean girls, and these are the stereotypical it girls, and these boys have no redeeming features. And yeah, I just wanted there to be a bit more nuance in there, and it was just getting to the stage where I didn't want to pick it up. And I always know that if I'm not wanting to pick up a book, it's time to put it down. So I'll be giving this away to the charity shop, and hopefully someone else will enjoy it, which I think most people will love this. I think people are going to find this brilliant, but it just wasn't for me right now. Two books that were for me and that I did really enjoy. The first I'm so pleased I finally got to is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness. Now, I think Mindy McGuinness has made a bit of a name for herself by writing some fiction with some really heavy topics, and they aren't afraid to go to the dark side, and this one is no different. It's about our main character, Alex, and she is the sister of a dead girl, a girl who was brutally raped and killed, and she is damaged. I say damaged, I mean, how could you not be damaged by that happening to you? But she is, there is parts of her personality where she struggles to switch certain things off. I don't want to spoil the sort of story for you, but throughout this, Alex has always been on the outside, a loner, not interested in you know, being friends with anyone. She's done stuff that most people wouldn't dream of. She's got a very difficult home life, and she's obviously the daughter in a small town of a girl who was raped and killed, so she is sort of recognisable to everyone as that girl with the dead sister. And in this, she starts to make some friends, and she starts to let some people in, and she discovers a love, and it changes everything, and it changes her, and yet parts of her don't change, and there is a good old plot in there. I tell you what, it's really difficult to tell you about this one without saying that it's about a girl who goes to that dark side, and yet finds a way of redeeming herself. It's really good. It's really, really good. I really loved it. And I feel like, although I'm sad the ending was what it was, I don't feel like Mindy McGuinness could have gone anywhere else with that ending without it being slightly problematic. So I really thought this was very good and gave it a really strong 4 stars. Not quite 5 stars, but a really good 4 stars. The other one, which ended up getting a really good 4 stars for me, is Meat Market by Juno Dawson. It appears at the moment, actually, Juno's writing has really grown on me. I don't like much of Juno's earlier work, but Clean and Meat Market have both been big hits for me. I've just thought they were brilliant. Meat Market is about a girl, she's 17. She is of Serbian descent. She lives in London, and she is just living her life. She is 16 and she's just finished GCSEs, and she's looking sort of towards the future, doesn't really know what she wants to do. She comes from a family who are sort of struggling. They're working really hard, but they haven't got loads of money, and she doesn't really know what her future holds. She's at a theme park one day with her friend during the holidays, and she is spotted by a talent scout for a modelling agency, and this sort of thrusts her into this sort of whole world of modelling, and the people there, and the sort of lifestyle and the money it brings. And the story is really delving into that sort of darker side of modelling and the sort of pitfalls that you can come across, while she's also navigating that sort of really difficult age, you know, where she's got a boyfriend, she's in love, and you know, she's navigating what she wants to do and the type of person she wants to be. And I just loved her as a character. I listened to this in one day on audio. I went up to London for the day for a Lush spa, which was amazing, in Oxford Street. But I took myself off for the whole day and did some shopping and bits, and had it on audio the whole time I was out, and I just loved immersing myself. The audio narrator for this off Audible was really, really good. And I think this is a very timely book. If you've had it on your radar, if you think you might want to read it, now is the time to read it, because there are so many important topics, especially with the Harvey Weinstein case and that idea of inappropriate behaviour and you know, sexual harassment, and the way that people are treated by people in power. Very good. And I just yeah, I just love this main character. She is a main character to root for, and who makes mistakes and isn't infallible, but owns those mistakes and fights what she believes in. I just, yeah, her integrity, I just really loved this. The more I think about it, the more I love it. But it was a really strong 4 stars. And there is a new book, I think, coming out soon by Juno, which I'm definitely going to be picking up, because at the moment she can do no wrong for me. I'm really loving gobbling up her books. So this is Meat Market. So these two I can personally definitely recommend as great reads. This one I think is going to be a great read for a lot of people, but maybe just not the right time or place for me at the moment. But that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.